So what we're going to be doing is multiplying 3-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. This is really similar to what we did in the last lesson. So first thing I do is I write the problem so it makes sense to me. So I have 42 here, so I know it's made out of 40 and 2. So if I take 40 times 489 plus 2 times 489, that would give me the answer. So I take this first one and I'm going to do my zero trick with this one. 4 times 9 is 36. So I write my 3 and I write my 6. Okay? Then I take 4 times 8. 4 times 8 is 32 plus 3, that's going to make that 35. Then 4 times 4 is 16 plus 3, that's going to be 19. And then because I'm using my zero trick, so I didn't have to multiply as much, I put my 0 on the end here. And then that gives me my answer for that part. Then I'm going to add it to whatever I get for the answer for this part. So 2 times 9, that's my 18. 2 times 8, 16, plus 1, that's going to be 17. 2 times 4, that's going to be 8, 9. So then I have all of my numbers here. Now I'm going to add these together, and that will give me my answer. Now if I want to do this the other way, what I can do is 2 times 9, and I know 2 times 9 is 18. So at first I'm just like ignoring that 4 that's right here. I'm pretending it's not there. 2 times 8 is 16 plus 1, that's going to be 17. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1, that's going to be 9. So that's 978. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my 0 down here to show that I'm going on to work on my 40. And I'm going to go to the top and I am going to erase what I have up here so I don't confuse myself. Okay, so 4 times 9, that's going to be 36. So my 3 goes up here, my 6 goes down here. 4 times 8 is 32. Plus 3, that's going to be 35. So I put my 3 up here and my 5 down here. Okay? 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3, that's going to be 19. So then what I do is I go ahead and I add those numbers together. So I get 8, I get 13, I get 15, and 9, and that's going to be a 0, and I carry my 1, and that gets me to 2. And so I end up with the same answer for both of these problems, so I know it's right. All right, let's do another one. I rewrite my problem. Now this one, the 60 down here, I know that 60 is made out of 60 and 0. So I can divide this into two different problems. I can do 719 times 60 and get my answer, and add that to 719 times 0. Now you're going, but Miss Miller, that's really dumb because it's the same problem that we're trying to solve. Okay, so you don't have to actually go through and do all of that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of go through the motions just like before so you can kind of see where the answer comes from. So I'm going to do the zero trick on this one. 6 times 9 is 54. So the 5 goes up here. The 4 goes down here. Okay, 6 times 1 is 6. What did I do, Miss Miller? You put it above the wrong number? Oh dear. Okay, you need to restart this problem so you're doing it right. Okay, I'm going to restart this problem. So I'm going to do 6 times 9, which is going to be 54. So I put my 5 up here above the 1 because that's where it goes. and my 4 down here. Then 6 times 1 is 6, plus 5, that's going to be 11. Put my 1 down here. 6 times 7 is going to be 42, plus 1, that makes it 43. Now, if I were to go through and do this whole problem, 0 times 9, 0. 0 times 1, 0. 0 times 7, 0. So if I were to actually go ahead and go through all the trouble of adding these together, oh, Miss Miller, you forgot to put your 0 on the end. That's 2 mistakes so far. There we go. Okay, so I would take my top number and add it to my bottom number and get the answer. So actually, we've kind of already come up with the answer here. So just by using the 0 trick, you would be able to solve this problem. Okay, I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to solve these two problems. Go for it. So, this one, what we're going to do is we are going to do rewrite the problem. Now, it always makes more sense to me to put a 2-digit number on the bottom and the 3-digit on top. It's just kind of like a personal preference. Remember, in multiplication problems, you can switch numbers around. It doesn't matter. So this 35 could be over here, that 515 could be over there. It doesn't make any difference switching numbers around in a multiplication-only problem. So what I know is I can take 515 times 30 and add that to 5 times 515 and get my answer. So I go ahead and start. This one I'm going to use my 0 trick on. So 3 times 5, that's going to be 15. And you know what? This time I think I'm going to put my 0 on the end before I even start. There we go. So I did 3 times 5, I got my 15, 3 times 1, that's going to be my 4. And then 3 times 5 is 15. So I have my top part. Now I'm going to get my bottom part here. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2, that's going to be 7. And I got another 25 with 5 times 5. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those two numbers and I am going to add them together after I erase that because that's kind of distracting. Okay, so I go ahead and add those two numbers together and I get my answer. Now if I was going to try and do that all on one problem, 5 times 5, I imagine that that 3 just does not exist. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1, that's 5, plus that, that's going to be 7. 5 times 5, that's 25 again. So then that's my first number. Then with the next one, I put my 0 down to show that I am going on to the tens place. I am going to take my eraser and go up here and erase above there if I have carried anything so I don't get confused. And then I'm going to go ahead and start. 3 times 5, that's going to be 15. 3 times 1, that's 3, plus 1, that's going to be 4. And then the next one, 3 times 5, is going to be 15 again. And I add that together. So 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. 5, 6 plus 4, that's going to be 10. 5 plus 2 is 7, 8. And then my 1 comes down, and I get my answer. Okay, if you haven't done the other one, stop the video, do the other one. If you have done it, then let's go. Okay, so I put the problem into a format that makes sense to me. Then I know that it's 70 times 214 plus 8 times 214, and that will give me my answer. So I do the 70 first. I use my zero trick. Okay, so 7 times 4 is going to be 28. So I put my 2 there, my 8 down here. 7 times 1 is going to be 7 plus 2 is going to be 9. 2 times 7 is 14. And I cannot forget to put my 0 out front and back because I'm using my zero trick. Okay, now I go on to this one and I go, okay, 8 times 4. 8 times 4 is 32. So I put my 3 up here, my 2 down here. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 3, that's going to be 11. And then 2 times 8 is 16, 17. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those numbers together. Okay, and I add them together and get that answer. Now I'm going to do it in the more compact version. So I imagine the 7 doesn't exist. 8 times 4, 8 times 4 is 32. So I put my 3 up here, my 2 here. Okay, 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3, that's going to be 11. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1, that's going to be 17. Okay, I put my 0 in the ones place to show that I'm moving on to the tens place now. And so I don't get confused, I go up to the top and erase this stuff. Okay, so 7 times 4 is going to be 28. So my 2 goes here, my 8 goes down here. My 7 times 1 is 7 plus 2, so that's going to be 9. 7 times 2 then is 14. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these together. So 2 plus 0 is 2. 8 plus 1 is 9. 7 plus 9 is going to be 16. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus another 1 is going to be 6. And there's nothing to add to my 1. And that's the answer to that one. Okay, go ahead and stop the video and I want you to try out these two problems. Okay, so 123 times 59. Here's the rewrite that I do. I know that it's 50 times 123 and 9 times 123, and if I add those together, I can get my answer. So I go 5 times 3, that's 15. So I put my 1 here and my 5 down here. Okay, then 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1, that's going to be 11. 5 times 1, that's 5, plus 1 is going to be 6. And I put my 0 on the end because I'm using that zero trick that we had learned. Then I go here, 9 times 3, that's going to be 27. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 2, that makes it into 20. 9 times 1 is 9. 10, 11, so I get my answer there. Now I'm going to add those together and I get my answer. If I'm doing it the other way, I imagine that the 5 doesn't exist. 9 times 3, that's going to be 27. 9 times 2, 18, plus 2, that's going to be 20. 9 times 1 is 9, 10, 11. So that's going to get me that 11 there. Okay, I put my 0 in to show that I'm moving on to the tens place now. And I grab my eraser and I erase this stuff up at the top so I don't confuse myself. And I start over here. 5 times 3 is 15. So I put that in here.